Hello guys, in this video we'll be talking about heat and mode of heat transfer. So let's start with the meaning of heat and how do you define heat. So as you go with the definition, heat would be a quantity which have energy in it. It's a form of energy. Okay, so it's a form of energy which travels or which transfer from a higher temperature to a lower temperature. So that's your conventional flow of heat. But obviously, then there could be asked, like, is it possible that heat can go from lower to higher temperature? Yes, it can. For that, you have to provide work in in order to do that. For example, that will be your refrigerator. Okay. So as for the definition, we are again defining the heat. Heat is a form of energy which travels from higher temperature body to a lower temperature body. Now, how heat travels, that will be the discussion which we have to do in this video. So there are three possible modes on which we'll be discussing in detail. So right now, let's compare all three. So first thing is we call this conduction, convection, and radiation. So let's talk about each of them one by one. So first of all, let's start with conduction. So the mode of transfer of heat will be called conduction if medium particle is not moving. Means let's say we are starting with this is a hot body having temperature T1, and there is a cold body right there, and that's having temperature T2, and obviously default we say that okay, T1 has to be greater than T2. Now the heat is gonna be transferred from this particular T1 body to T2 body or to a colder body. Let's say for facilitating that, what we are doing is we are putting across a solid block. So in this case, what will happen is because it's a solid, they are not allowed to move. Okay, but they can vibrate on their given positions. So let's say this particular particle we're talking about. Okay, so at the hotter body, it's gonna give heat to this. And again, remember, heat is a form of energy. So this particle will start vibrating, and this vibration will affect the next particle, and it's also start vibrating, and hence this will be propagated throughout the entire object and until it reaches this particular place. So heat is getting transferred because of the solid particle which is not allowed to make. So they are giving a heat to another particle. So earlier there was no heat, and they are now giving, one particle is giving one heat to next one, and next particle is giving to the next one. So only key point you have to keep in mind is here your particles are not moving. So that will be categorized under conduction. So for a conduction, usually you'll be using a solid medium because there the constraint are there that we are not allowed to move atom or molecules of a solid. But if you take a fluid, somehow you make it not moving, so it will be also taken as a conduction. So let's talk about convection. So convection is a process pretty similar to this, only it's a later discussion which we have to. This is a hot body again, and this would be your cold body. And again, you can call this is T2, and that will be T1. Okay. So this time, what we are doing is instead of giving a solid object, we are putting, let's say, water or a fluid which is allowed to flow. So this is kept like this, and it's allowed to flow. So in this case, what will happen is when you talk about heat transfer, obviously the flow is from T1 to T2. So in this case, you're allowed to move around. The fluids, particle or molecules are allowed to float around, and then what they do is they take heat from the hotter object, and by themselves they float around and deliver that heat to the colder source. So in here we are not transferring between molecules as much as we are taking heat with them and having a flow and delivering it to the cold body. So that will be categorized as convection when the flow of the particle is taken into consideration. So your fluids are one of the example which will be talking about convection. if you are, let's say, facilitating the flow and it is happening naturally, based on that you have like a two categories. We won't go in that much detail, but I'll tell you a name. So if they are doing that by themselves, they are known as free convection. And if you are providing it from the external source, that will be known as forced convection. So for example, free convection would be when you boil something in, let's say, in an open pan, your water, you are keeping it there, and your water starts circulating when your uh, given thing is heating up. Okay, that happens due to the change in densities. As you go hotter, you'll get less dense, and that's why the motion is itself is start flowing there. In the first case, you can take example of any exhaust fan. So the purpose of exhaust fan will be take out the heat from a given source and throw it in outside environment. So that will be the what do you say, type of forced convection. Okay, so overall idea in convection would be you have to have some sort of flow which takes the heat from one particular body, which is hotter body, and it flows towards the colder body and takes the heat there and stop. So the third case is a little different compared to these two. So in third case, we have radiation. So in the case of radiation, again, we can take a hot body, and this is having temperature T1. So then we can take a cold body, and which is having a temperature of T2. So in this case, we don't have any particles actually. It's like empty space. For example, you can consider this to be your sun and this to be your earth, because between them there's an empty space. Obviously, there are not particles which can take your heat with them or transfer between each other, like conduction and convection. So in here, your mode of what you say transfer would be, or how do you gonna transfer energy? You'll be using waves. As we know, that wave can carry energy with them. So here, the type of wave the sun creates will be EM waves. Okay, and due to that, your heat transfer will be happening. So this is a EM wave. You're using electromagnetic waves for transferring your heat from a hotter source to a colder source. That will be categorized as your radiation. So radiation is obviously the slowest one to transfer heat from one particular body to a second body, if we are talking about same temperature difference. And convection has a one variable to deal with, that's say, because we can introduce more flow to it. So if we can control the flow, we can transfer heat more and more and more. So I hope you understood that, and this video was just a basic understanding of conduction, convection, radiation. So I'll be going in more detail in coming videos on conduction and radiation as such. Convection is out of your oral scope of your syllabus, so we'll be talking about only this much on convection. So I hope you like that, and please let me know if you have any queries on that. And thanks for watching.